All right, in order to talk about Russia, we first have to talk about communism and the command economy and look at the history behind it. So, a little bit about communism. Again, it's an ideology that seeks to create equality, eliminate all those private forces, whether it's for property and the market, and try to create that classless society. So, again, there's strong support from the lower class when they're being taken advantage of, and it's developed by Karl Marx in the late 1800s. This was during the Industrial Revolution, which again was taking advantage of all those factory workers. All the businesses were making money off of those factory workers, and the factory workers didn't have any power economically or politically. So what was he thinking? He was looking at the world as a way, as haves versus have-nots. So you have the technology and the increases in technology that were owned by the haves, those business owners, and the have-nots did not have any of that technology and were losing their jobs. So you have the bourgeoisie, which is the property-owning middle class, those business owners that are controlling things, and then you have the proletariat, which was the working class. So as time goes by, again, the bourgeoisie gets smaller. There's a smaller middle class, smaller business class, and the richer they get, while the workers will get poorer and larger. So as the working class and the proletariat, as they're taken advantage of, there's tension there, and it grows and grows and grows. And he feels, and he thought, that the tension would lead then to a revolution. So the proletariat would take control of the state, control the economy, and he thought this international phenomenon would sweep all the capitalist countries and then replace them with these communist countries. Socialism, okay, so socialists believe that the state should exercise significant but not total control over the economy, where communists view this as a transitional phase towards an outcome where private property no longer exists. So there is private property that exists in socialism, but it is not communism. It's kind of the stepping stone. So Marx thought this would always happen in an industrialized, advanced economy. However, there was other viewpoints, and those were led by Lenin and Mao. They were inspired by Marx, but both believed that this could also happen in agricultural areas. Okay, so later on, Marx did believe this as well, but Lenin believed it was possible if leaders kind of created a vanguard of the proletariat, so the leader of those working class individuals. Then a small revolution could be created, a movement would go through, and they would seize power on behalf of those working people. In the Communist Party, it's the party only. So the Communist Party um, is the power that drives the system, not the government itself. The government is run, yes, by the Communist Party, but the Communist Party runs everything through their party and then kind of steps in. So they represent the vanguard organization. Usually, however, it's only about 10% of the population that actually associates themselves with the party. At times, then, the party is written directly into the Constitution, so they can't be removed. And a party state is a political system in which power flows directly from the ruling political party to the state, bypassing any government structure. So again, this will be what China looks like as well. Then there's this idea of nomenklatura. We're going to talk a little bit about this as we move forward and look at the current Russian system. So communist parties maintain control through repression, careful allocation of power that's giving power to certain people and certain areas. So those sensitive, important jobs, whether it's state, society, or the economy, are staffed by people that are approved by the Communist Party. And you'll see that today where the Russian government structure, people are appointed and given jobs because of their loyalty to the government. In a communist system, they also look at kind of the correct view of human history, future relations, what you can be organized in. So basically, controlling civil society. They looked at religion as an opiate for the masses, right? You don't want to be a free thinker. They eliminated all other political parties. They don't allow any non-state sponsored organizations. So civil society under this communist system is very limited. In the communist system, you have the leader, which is the general secretary, so it's your chief executive, assigns all those top positions in the party. So basically, he surrounds himself with all his supporters. With the chief executive, the general secretary, is what we call the Politburo. So it's kind of short for political bureau. It's your cabinet members, basically, 12 members. The general secretary is in charge, and they shape all the national policy. After that, the lower branch there is the Central Committee. It's your legislative branch, confirms, not makes, but confirms the decisions of all the party leadership. About 300 members, meets a couple times a year, basically like a party, right? Party Congress held every 5 years, so it's a bigger event, and there's many participants. But what they do is basically confirm the national policy that's to be created by the General Secretary and the Politburo. When you're looking at the economy, then, it's a command economy. So you have central planning, all the functions and dealings start in one spot. The state provides all the goods, the social services, healthcare, education, retirement funds. You can't really have individual property. You don't control your own property. And most often you are told where to work. So this began with Stalin. He believed that the Soviet Union should focus on heavy industry. So he wanted to focus on those goods, put those people to work, and he had 5-year plans. Where Mao in China decided to work on the agricultural market. Problems with the command economy. You would write out plans. The Gauss plan, which would occur in the Soviet Union, and it was their central command, their plan for what they're going to produce every 5 years. And it's impossible to manage an entire economy. You don't know how many products you need. There's 50,000 plus items you need to make. No way to measure, right? No way to measure how many pairs of shoes or tires that you need in a different area. There's also no incentive for all the workers. They're all getting paid the same. So why be innovative? Why have efficiency? Because if you are very efficient, you're just going to have to work harder. Stalin then created these collective farms. They were state-run. Private land ownership was done away with. He stripped all the land from these farmers and made them communal farms, so everyone was working together. The goal was to feed the workers of the USSR. So you had workers working on these farms to feed all the workers in the industries, and the kulaks, which are the owners of the large farms, forced to move to cities or to labor camps. So they're kicked off their farms and they're forced into labor camps. And in the result, farmers basically destroyed their property before it could be confiscated because they knew this was going to happen, and then a lot of starvation occurred. Under Stalin's 5-year plans, heavy in steel and cement, impossible to manage that entire system, like I said. For example, Lenin Tire Factory did not get a good supply of rubber one year, so thus the factory would use less rubber in the tire to meet the quota. They're always trying to meet quotas because there was some danger there if you didn't meet the quota. So you made inefficient tires just to meet the quota. If you overproduce, then you get a higher quota. Once that 5-year plan was done, they created another one. And if you look at the economy there, the rise and fall of the Soviet economy over the years compared to the U.S. Towards the 90s, that's then, again, the fall of the USSR. So in the late 1980s, they realized communism was failing. Gorbachev, in the new era of leadership, kind of realized that they were in trouble. There was no really good domestic output. They could not keep up with the United States in the arms race. So glasnost was created, which encouraged public debate. So there's two things, a political change and an economic change. Glasnost opened up public debate, so more openness, basically being able to talk about the communist regime and what they thought about it. And then there's perestroika, which was an economic political reform, a small shift to some private economic opportunities and more of a market economy. So this is kind of the beginning of the end for communism.